All right, family. Sorry for the delay. We've been definitely going through it. Um, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Streamlabs was down. It can't connect to Facebook. They're just having issues. It wouldn't let me log in, and yeah. All right, I had people texting and calling. I just didn't have time. So, um, yeah, it just feels like that. Well, I ain't gonna say it feels like that kind of day because we're not gonna claim that energy. So be patient with me. I do a little looking around. Then we gonna get started. See if everybody is working. No YouTube on. Yeah. So I know it's working on. Oh, well, TikTok say my live ended, but so Instagram hasn't been working correctly for a minute. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. As a matter of fact, well, I never even seen myself live on Instagram, but we're gonna check because I need to know if this is working. Nope. All right, we're gonna move on. We are going to get our party started because we are already late, and it's unfortunate. Yeah, like I said, I was having a rough enough time trying to get it together. I wanted to be able to put the link in to join, but like I said, I've been having enough problems trying to just get live tonight. So, um, okay, they're showing across the screen. So, I'm gonna add the link to get in if somebody would like to join. I don't know where the link shows up. 'Cause I just type it in on here, and right now it just shows up a little bit of everywhere. So let me get this link real quick. Start it. Copy. Close. Front cam. I guess if you would like to join the live, you can. But tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about trauma. Oh, listen, they won't even let me paste it. Never mind. We'll worry about that later. Then, like I said, we already ate late enough, so let's get this party started. I guess I definitely do need this meditation, visualization, or whatever is going on. Um, Liberty, I did see you chatting. You said you be on TikTok, so I tried to use TikTok, but I did see your comment on the YouTubes, but now it's not showing on my screen. So yeah, I think Streamlabs is having a huge issue right now. I checked the little download. I mean, if it's down. Yeah, okay, cool. See you on TikTok now too. But my TikTok comments don't come across the screen, so I don't know where you be at. All right. We're gonna do 369. I need them deep breaths today. So we're gonna start off with our breathing exercise. Um, so we can do a quick visualization, and I can chat with y'all for a little bit, and we can move on with our lives. So glad to have you here. So glad to be back with you. Appreciate your patience. As before, the visualization we are doing is the throat, and throat chakra is blue. So we're using my throat chakra bowl. It is actually set up to the frequency, matches the frequency of your throat. Mm. All right. So let's do our breathing exercise. I know we've been doing 242, but I need 369 today. So we're gonna go back to 369. Hello, pretty black girl. I appreciate you. Hello's that Dino Nuggies. I appreciate you joining us on Twitch. Um, so we're going to take a deep breath, breathe in through our nose and out through our mouths. We're going to hold the first one for 3, then 6, then 9 seconds. We'll breathe in on my count of 3. Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out through your mouth. I'm going to repeat it one more time. My count of 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 6 seconds. Breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out. Last time. My count of three. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it for 9 seconds. Breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Breathe out. All right, so let's work on our visualization. Pretty Black Girl, I thought about you this weekend, and I meant to reach out, but I got caught up doing some spiritual journeys this weekend. So I owe you. I'll reach out. Yeah. So, find you a comfortable space if you're not already in it. You can close your eyes or leave your eyes open. But while you're in a comfortable position, and if you can, place one hand or both hands over your throat and give your hands intentions as far as the energy you want it to send to your body, whether it be healing, whether it be love, whether it be ever. So, as we did during the book club, one of my favorite places that I have been has been a reggae club. And the element for your throat is the ether. And the easiest way to describe the ether is through music. So take that deep breath. Imagine yourself standing outside. You just exited your car and you're walking down the street. And along the street, you see various buildings, stores, boutiques, offices, restaurants. You can feel the air as you walk. The temperature is probably a good spring temperature. So it's not too hot, not too cold. You can hear people going about their day. You can smell the different smells intertwining from the food to the perfumes to the colognes. And as you walk down the street, you come up to a establishment on your right. And the first thing you hear is the music. The music is vibrant, encouraging, empowering. The type of music that just makes you want to do what feels good. And your curiosity peaks. So you go in. And as you go in, to your left, it's a bar. And you see people ordering drinks, ordering food, having conversations with the people they came with, and the bartender. And as you look to your right, you see a open space where people are dancing, that is surrounded by speakers. You can smell the food, the love, and the essence in the air is powerful. You stand closer to one of the speakers, and it is literally playing your favorite reggae song. And you can feel the sound waves caressing the hairs on your skin, vibrating against your skin. So much so that you can feel those vibrations go from your left side to your right side. And in this moment, you feel satisfaction. You feel alive. You feel welcome. You feel love. You feel complete. You feel happiness. And you begin to describe what this moment means to you. So take a little time and think of all the beauty in that moment and figure out which words you would use to describe that moment. Then, after you've described that moment, visualize yourself standing right in front of you. And you tell yourself all the words you use to describe this moment. You use those words to describe how you are important to you, why you matter to you, why you are necessary. Then, after you've done that, I want you to repeat after me. I speak and hear truth. I communicate honestly. I live an authentic life. I am fearless and free. I trust what I have to say. I speak and hear the truth. I communicate honestly. I live an authentic life. I am fearless and free. And I trust what I have to say. Okay, so take a deep breath, soak that all in, take a minute if you need. Um, we're going to get started with the show. See how we want to do this. All right, family. So we're gonna move this over a little bit so we can get this party started. So I know we've kind of been, well, not even kind of been. We have definitely been talking a lot about symbols as they relate to how our mind has been programmed. So we also can use these tools to reprogram our minds. And so as we've been talking about symbols, we're moving into trauma and how trauma affects us. I got a couple of definitions. I want to make sure we're all working on the same page, and a little bit of information that I am going to want to read to you. So be patient. So, first thing we want to talk about is what is trauma? And the definition that we are going to use, most of the definitions are pretty similar. They're all within the same family, but I do think one kind of describes our process or how we want to look at trauma a little better. So it is a response to an intensely stressful event or situation that overwhelms you psychologically. One of the reasons I feel like this definition really fits where we're going with it is because intensely, the word intensely, and the word overwhelming. And I say that because a lot of times we can recognize the huge or the major traumas, but there are a lot of minor traumas that we deal with regularly that we don't even recognize that simply gently overwhelm us. And really, I got a story on how I began to recognize my own trauma. I mean, no, not how I began to recognize, but I have a story that I really wound up turning into a joke. And I tell a lot of people this story. And I use this line all the time. And another thing, right? But it actually, ironically, comes from a traumatic event, right? And it took me a minute. Honestly, it wasn't until I was having a conversation with a friend and telling them this story that it hit me that it was actually a traumatic event. And later on, we'll discuss some of the guards that we put up. But I remember I was dating a girl, and up until this point, I felt as though everything was going pretty fine, pretty well. And evidently, she did too. So I'm spending a little time at her house, and I remember I'm watching TV, laying on her bed, and she goes to the bathroom. And maybe after 30 minutes or so, my spirit is antsy. You see that? I keep moving. Maybe after 30 minutes or so, she busts in the room, starting off with and another thing. And she went into this whole tirade about who knows what because I didn't. And I was sitting there shocked. So I always tell the joke is and another motherfucking thing because that's what she actually said and another thing, right? So that's the joke. Whenever somebody start thinking about something else they want to add on to their story or something else that they didn't say, always remind them of the and another mother thing. So she bust in the room with the and another mother thing, and I'm laying there looking lost, straight lost in the sauce. And she looks in my face and she says, "You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?" No, I do not. And then she politely apologized. And she said she was having a conversation with herself in the bathroom and got herself so angry that she came in the room and started yelling at me with no real just reason. And although I overlooked that, essentially it actually stayed with me to the point that I turned it into some sort of humorous event. And it really was one of those words that I said earlier. It was an overwhelming. It wasn't quite intense, but it was very overwhelming to the point that it's etched into my essence and my mind, because I actually was doing nothing wrong, to the point that whatever conversation she was having with herself in the bathroom that made her frustrated wasn't even worth us continuing once she realized I had no idea what she was talking about. And things like that happen to us all the time. I think outside of that personal story, my Seer, good to see you. Outside of that personal story, I think one of the main ways, especially as a black man or black people, and we experience is through microaggressions. We overlook those microaggressions so frequently, but they are like the straw that broke the camel's back. One of my favorite lines from a rapper is, "Why did one straw break the camel's back?" Is because there were a million straws underneath it. So those microaggressions come like wind up being little bites on our spirit, bites on our consciousness, bites on our emotion, that we have to create a certain level of disconnect, emotional disconnect, just to be able to endure, right? And I actually have been thinking about something else I want to give you a little information on, and we're going to read. Why is trauma coming to the forefront right now? And it's been wild because I've been helping people with all types of trauma. Several incidences of trauma. And I think in this healing process, we have created a safe space for people to, one, identify their trauma, two, communicate it, and three, work with us together to be able to address it. And it's wild because it started off with simple conversations. I had a friend reach out to me, and she began to tell me something that's happening in her life that is very triggering, in the sense that she was a person. I have a tendency to meet a lot of young mothers, not mothers who are young, but women who started motherhood young. They are not necessarily still young, some in their 30s, some in their 40s. As a matter of fact, my ex is a perfect example of that. She probably had her first child at 15. And honestly, she was probably the first woman I have dated that had started being a mother that young. But I had another friend who became a mother that young. And unfortunately, um, we grew up in a different time. And the father of her child was an older man. And as of course, as you grow, you begin to learn, you have the tools to be able to recognize some of your own trauma. And so I think for that person, they've grown to a space to really understand what that time period was like for their life, right? But it's been so easy to move past. Not I'm not gonna say it's been so easy, but there's been enough time that allows to think that we're past that trauma. And it's ironic because I know in my own personal life, one thing that I was never taught to do, and why we're here now, is to pause and stop to deal with the trauma of today. In my life, we never paused and stopped. We always moved on to the next thing. We were always worried about the future. We didn't have time to worry about the past or the present. We were so worried about tomorrow. So it leads, and a lot of people go through this, so it leaves us in a space where as adults, we are taking the time to try to heal ourselves. So, and they call, and unfortunately, they are now faced with the cycle not repeating itself, but honestly, the cycle actually repeating itself. But like we said, these things happen in spirals and not straight lines or circles. So it's kind of the same foundational issue, but at a different level. And now this reopens the trauma of past. Then earlier this week, I made a post that was very triggering to a lot of people. And I knew it had the potential to be triggering. But I also knew it had the potential where the Chinese symbol for crisis also is a symbol for opportunity. So where there I knew it would be triggering, there was also an opportunity for healing in that space. So one of the wildest things I found out over the last 2 weeks was one, chicken pox is a version of the herpes simplex virus. And two, 50%, 50, of black women are diagnosed with HSV2, herpes simplex virus 2. Not one, cold sores, but two. And that is a very interesting statistic. So I posted that in hopes that it would spark up conversation. And it did, because I wanted to dispel the myths, because there are a ton of varieties. Like chickenpox can turn into shingles as you're older. Chickenpox and shingles are both part of the herpes simplex virus. I grew up at a time, and they're still doing it now, where parents would have chickenpox parties for their children and get their kids together so they can catch the chickenpox. Unknowingly, they were exposing their children to the herpes simplex virus. So if you have chickenpox, it still resides in you. So on this post, we get a lot of information. We talk about how I don't want to say regular it is, but how frequent it shows up in society. We talked about intersectionality. We talked about how and you can get it. We talked about a lot of different things. So only a few people, I only had, I say only one person let their trigger really get displayed. I think a couple people started, but then my responses are open. It's to generate conversation, not to down black women, but to talk about communities, I mean, talk about issues that address us. Um, One person asked why the focus was black women. The only reason why the focus was that was because they were the highest. It could have been anybody else that was the highest, and I still would have had that conversation because my conversation was to bring about information, right? So I make this post, and little do I know, outside of that post creating a space for conversation, it wound up also creating a safe space for people to communicate to me their issues. So this week, I have been a safe space for people to communicate some of their health issues. And I say this because I like to look back on things, and I didn't see this. You know, we talk about being aware of the signs and the symbols of life to help post you in a direction. And when I made that post, I didn't think that I'd be winding up being a safe space for the communicating some of the things on that post, but I did. I wound up having to help somebody through relationship questions. And then I wound up having to help somebody through personal questions as it relates to that. And the main thing that why I'm bringing this up is it's the trauma aspect and how these traumas are coming to the surface. So I did a spiritual journey. I've been doing a spiritual journey the last couple of weekends. So I did one this weekend, and this weekend I actually went on it myself with the person. And man, listen, we talk about it. You can see it now. Sometimes I see I'm a little movie. I'm a little. One of my coworkers used to say, describe their sister as squirrely. And that's the perfect thing to describe me. Sometimes my energy can be a little bit squirrely. But I'm doing this spiritual journey, and I'm really kind of having a difficult time in the sense that I'm having a difficult time to connect to whatever I need to connect to. The healing energy, whatever. I don't know what it is, but I know I'm not being able to connect because my body's antsy and it's wild. So I wind up having to dance. I'm moving around. I'm getting in weird positions. So the funny thing that we don't talk about is each one of these chakra points also has a position that you can get in. They generally talk about yoga positions, but they're not always yoga positions. It's a bunch of positions that you can get in to activate that chakra. Right. So I'm joking and I'm playing, and the person is watching me, and they're like, wow, you just kind of silly and all these things. And then I get to a point where I sit down. Crisscross applesauce, that's what we still call it. Crisscross applesauce. And I get into, and while I'm sitting in that position, I lean to the side and I'm listening to this song, Tom's Diner. Doo doop doo doop doop doo doo doop 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 doop. I loved Tom's Diner. And in that moment, in that position, I broke my guards. I connected to the child's self and I began to cry. And we ask, how do we heal some of these things that we've been through? And the best way that I could suggest is you have to spend time in those emotions so that you can actually heal it. But most of us are way more versed at avoiding the emotions we don't want to deal with than confronting them head on. And interestingly enough, what I realized through this process is how strong our guards can be to protect us from our traumas. And I say this because one thing that I realized that my humor, my personality, my jokes, all of those things come from a place of trauma. And I use those things to protect some of the hurt I've experienced. So I am one of the people who will turn a very traumatic situation into comedy. And my guards are so strong because I've developed them for so long that when it comes time for me to put them down, I don't even know how to. And I have to go through this whole process to put my own protection down just so I can heal some of the hurts that I've experienced, or some of the traumas that I've experienced, right? And for me, one of the things that probably my biggest hurt and the one I probably guard the most with my comedic antics or my squirreliness nature is that sense of loneliness. See, I was a child. We talked about it before. I was a kid that spent a lot of time on punishment because my mom didn't know what to do. So essentially, I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement. Essentially, I spent a lot of time alone. Essentially, by spending all that time alone, it created a deep seated sense of loneliness inside of my child self. And as I grow, I've done many, many, many different things to mask that loneliness that I felt as a child, whether it be traveling a lot. That was one of the reasons I'm a rolling stone. Every 3 to 5 years, I move on. And I like to do this. What I ran into this week as well, defining our trauma as it's just me, moving from a space of trauma and labeling it as it's just you. So, for example, I've always said, I guess I'm just kind of a rolling stone. It's in my blood. My mama was a rolling stone. My daddy was a rolling stone. We've been moving for a bunch. But then even when I look at their lives, the reason they were like that is from trauma. And that expands the idea of the sins of the father fall to the child. So my parents handled their trauma by moving on or running away. And they taught that to their children. And I say this because I think one of the reasons a lot of our traumas are coming to the surface right now is the energy that we are in. Tonight at 8, let me see, around 8:25, 8:45, we are going to have a super moon, a lunar eclipse. And that lunar eclipse will occur in the sign of Pisces. I'm going to read some information about it. But one of the main things, well, two main things that a lunar eclipse in Pisces signify for us all is uncovering of the illusions, which I just said, even those illusions we create for ourselves, which is funny because I've been doing Reiki, and one thing one of the people have been saying, I've been talking a lot of shit to them. Excuse my language. But it ain't that I've been talking a lot of shit. I think it's been a part of this energy. We've been connected to this lunar eclipse energy, and we have been uncovering illusions, right? The other thing that a lunar eclipse in Pisces gives you an opportunity is to bring clarity, uncover illusions, and bring clarity. In my men's group meeting, one of the men in the group, he wound up saying something specific as it relates to Pisces and letting go, right? So when the lunar eclipse occurs in Pisces, energetically, that is one of the best times to purge old emotions, let go of old trauma, uncover the illusions and bring clarity to your life. And they also say that if you can't let go when the lunar eclipse is in Pisces, they don't know when you're going to be able to let go. So I think I'm talking about this trauma. I think we're leading into trauma. I think we're discussing everybody's traumas are coming to the surface at this point because we're being given the opportunity to let go of those traumas, whatever it may mean, or however we may choose to do that. But we have the energy and the opportunity right now to let go of traumas, which makes sense because we are in the harvest season where we clean up our crops, right? So some deeper information about the lunar eclipse in Pisces. We're going to talk about what does the super moon in Pisces mean. So Pisces is the water sign that can swim to the depths of our mind. When the moon is in Pisces, we are all gifted with strong psychic abilities. I want to pause here because we make it seem like psychic abilities are some mysticism, but we all have them. It is our conscious, it is our intuition, something that just kind of tells us that this is right or wrong, even though the events have not happened yet. So we all have heightened intuition at this time. So it provides us an opportunity to be able to exercise our trust of self. So if you're starting to think about some of the traumas or some of the things you've been to, a lot of this stuff has come to the surface. It's because the energy is telling you this is a perfect opportunity to let go. The strong psychic abilities are there for us if we want to tap into them. So you have to want to heal. You have to want to trust yourself. You have to want to be better. And not with just hope, but you have to put the power of belief behind that. So, during this time, you may experience a fortunate stroke of serendipity in the days leading up to the supermoon, which I just spoke about over this weekend, how I made connection and realized how I've masked my trauma throughout my body. in my joints by working on other people and how I've masked my trauma with humor and the simple statement as this is who I am when it's not. Or you may have run ins with people from your past. Thank God that is not me. But some of you may have run ins with people from your past during this time. So because it is a supermoon, which is when the moon is closest to the earth. A supermoon is when the moon is closest to the earth. The energy is even more transformative. And some people don't like to think that all this makes sense, but we can see the moon effect on the earth through the tides. It causes high tide, and we are 3/4 water. So the moon definitely has an effect on bodies of water. And since we are 3/4 water, we are essentially a body of water. So the moon has energetic effects on us as well. And during this time, we can capitalize on that energy to be able to heal ourselves, right? Full moons are a catalyst for the change within ourselves and our lives. Pisces is the 12th and final zodiac sign and is mutable, which means it's adaptable and flexible. Technically, Pisces is supposed to represent the peak of man. I'm a Pisces. I've met some wild Pisces. I can see that for some of us. I don't know. So take some time as we navigate through this super moon. I might try to wrap it up before the end. And we got on a little bit later. Let me see, what time are we working with? It's been about an hour, so good. I'll wrap this up and then we all can probably partake in that super moon a little bit. So I think we're talking about trauma. A lot of people's traumas are being brought to the surface in very unique ways because I think the universe, God, the energy itself is trying to tell us it's the optimum time for us to be able to capitalize on this healing. So that's why we're having a little conversation about trauma and a little bit about the full moon. And now I'm going to combine trauma and symbols. Essentially, relationships become symbols of our trauma. How we interact with people, who we choose to interact with, when we choose to stop interacting them, the repetitive experiences we have are reflective of our traumas. And I say this because trauma has a way of, like I said, it has a way of entering or incorporating itself in your routines to the point that it winds up feeling natural as who you are. But it's not. And the bad thing about that trauma, once it becomes a part of us and we lose sight of it, what we wind up doing is finding ourselves in cycles of relationships, whether they platonic, romantic, whatever, cycles of relationships that reaffirm our traumas. Perfect example of this is the way people talk about dating today. They talk about dating as though there's pee in the dating pool. I've had a lot of people ask me, why do they keep having the same experience dating? And the reason is because they are functioning from a place of trauma. And if you don't recognize that, you are more likely to give up on yourself, let go of your dreams, let go of your hopes, let go of your goals, let go of your direction, because you're not getting the outcomes that you want. But you have not turned that mirror on yourself and realize the reason you keep having these shared experiences, these same experiences repeatedly, is because you yourself are choosing and picking from a place of trauma. And you yourself are so attached to that trauma that you're afraid to let go. So you continue to pick situations, events, and circumstances that only reinforce that trauma. So if you've ever been one of those people to even say that statement, that is a main sign that you are functioning from a place of trauma. Because dating is the experiences you choose. You choose. You choose all of your experiences. And some of those traumatic relationships that you experienced, that you chose, was really supposed to be a mirror to reflect back to you the trauma that you bring into relationships. But a lot of times, the other person becomes the tangible thing that we can blame for the things that we don't like in ourselves. So we keep having these situations and these experiences until we recognize that we are that energy. And once you recognize it, you have the opportunity to break out of that cycle that reaffirms your traumas. But first, you have to find yourself and get comfortable with the unknown. Because the only thing you know about yourself right now, or the only space that you're moving in right now, is a space of past tense, a space of history, a space of before, a space of trauma. So ultimately, we're having this conversation. So, one, we can start taking time to recognize our traumas, big and small. Two, we can start recognizing the times in our lives where God gives us the opportunity to work with the tools all around us to provide ourselves healing. Three, to be able to break the cycles that we created and the cycles that were given to us. This is the beginning of us breaking free, right? So, last thing I think I want to talk about tonight for a little second is the previous homework. And I want to talk about the homework because We did that homework a while ago. Well, we started the homework a while ago. And I've been paying attention to a lot of the questions that or the kind of the space that people are in. And people's minds are kind of foggy right now. It's so full of so many opportunities or stressors or something like that that I keep continuously hearing this phrase, I don't know what to do. I don't know what direction to go in. I mean, for the last couple of months, it has been repetitive. And ironically, I've been saying to people like, yo, you need to do the homework. Some of these people are people who've been on the show. Yo, you need to do the homework. Yo, you need to do the homework. It seemed like a simple activity. It just seemed like something that we were doing. But if you actually do it, it will help clear some of the fog in your mind and give you a direction. Because right now, with all that fog, you think you're moving one way, but you are not, because you haven't cleared out some of that. So a simple way to clear out some of the fog in your head is to begin to write it down. So one of the first homeworks we did was, what do we want our rich life to look like? And what do we want our love life to look like? So I don't think I've added much more to my rich life or my love life. I think the last conversation we had about love life, I've added that, but I'm going to revisit it with you all so you all can start thinking about, so you all can begin to create your roadmap to your life with one of these tools. This is the reason why they say the pen is mightier than the sword. So you can do a whole lot of cutting cords, clearing, all types of things by just writing. So for me, certain things, and it's funny because I laughed at one of them on my rich life that actually needs to change now because I don't even really care. I'm just getting what I like. So one, in my rich life, I want a sense of wholeness, like the traumas I experienced never happened. In my rich life, I want a sense of security and stability. In my rich life, I want longevity. So I want to be able to pass down. I want it to last my lifetime and several lifetimes of the people who come behind me. So longevity. I want a diverse portfolio. My rich life includes marriage. Now, how that marriage will look, I'm open to. Because to me, simply put, a marriage is a union that God put together. So the marriage begins the day that union starts. I want to be in a position to be able to pay my wife. I want her to work for me. Or even better, work for us. Because whatever I'm doing for me is to make sure we are okay. And I cannot have her putting all her efforts, or as much efforts as we put into other people's businesses, other people's lives, to make them successful. I cannot have her doing that when we're building something fantastic over here. I'm putting all my energy into us. I want her to do the same thing. I put on this bad boy, I want more Ralph Lauren. I don't even care. I love Polo, and I'm still going to get more Ralph Lauren, but I feel like my fashion's changing a little bit, and I want diversity in my fashion. So I don't even care about. I mean, I do. I ain't even finna lie. I still got a bunch of polo. I'm gonna always have a bunch of polo. Polo is classic. It never goes out of style. Now, that's just a little bit of my rich life. The love life is the one that I want to really discuss because this is where a lot of where people don't know what to do. It really kind of stems around their love life. And I really do encourage you to write down how you would want your love life to look. And as you're writing it down, you're going to be replaying it in your head. And I need you to evaluate if that makes sense. Do not just write your wants, but write what makes sense because you know the next thing you're going to have to decide, who do I have to be to get those things? Because if you were it, you'd already have it. So for my love life, I don't want to be surrounded by people who hurt me intentionally and unintentionally. I want a love life that is full of healing in a sense that we can move forward where the things of our past or the experience does not hamper us. I want a love life where I can be considerate and has consideration. I want a love life of awareness. I'll be around so many people and they are so oblivious to what is happening around them that it's kind of shocking. But I definitely don't want to be dating or in a love life where someone is not aware of what is going on with me. I like to take my time to learn my woman where I can smell her and know what's going on, whether she's mad, happy, sad, hungry, whatever. I would like something of that in return. Now, she don't have that. I smell is my skill. I just need her to have the awareness. She can use her eyes, ears, nose. I don't even care. She can use her throat. Doesn't matter. I want one with healthy communication. A communication that allows me to feel heard, valued, and respected. Just like my rich life, I would like my love life to also have longevity. Yeah, I'm trying to get out the game and stay out the game. I would like a love life with the benefit of the doubt. I really don't like when uh, when we make a lot of decisions in our life based on our past experiences, sort of basically guaranteeing our future experiences will be just like that. But I like to approach it with the benefit of the doubt. So even though I'm a man, I don't want to be treated like all men. I would like a love life with no comparisons. I do not want to compare my woman to the past or have her comparing me to her past or what she sees currently. Same for both of us. Space to learn and make mistakes. We're human. Forgiveness is very difficult, but very important. Whew. Reciprocity, respect for my agency as a man, and forgiveness. Right. So that is a little bit of the homework. We didn't I didn't find my list of who I got to be to get there, but I think based on the energy and paying attention to the energy that I've been interacting with lately this week, I think the love life homework is the one that we need to start. I mean, that we needed to focus on a little bit because a lot of people are there right now. It's getting cold. What they call it is cuffing season, something of that nature. It's getting a little chilly. We're trying to get booed up. So take some time to write down what you want your love life to look like. Again, or remember to revisit it and start adding to that list. Remember, we want to make sure we're taking the time to utilize this energy and let go. The supermoon in Pisces uncover illusions and bring clarity. We want to begin to start recognizing our traumas, big and small. We're going to recognize our trauma guards. The easiest way to recognize our trauma guards is anything that you say, that's just me. That just you is not just you. It is coming from a place of trauma, right? And we want to make sure we are breaking those cycles that reaffirm our traumas. And we want to, like we did, revisit the homework. We did revisit the homework. Love life, rich life, and who do I have to be to get the life I want? Make that list, clear the fog out your brain, right? I appreciate you all. I think I may skip the visualization for Thursday when we do book club because I think we're like down to our last 20, 30 pages or something like that. And I want to knock this book out so we can get to The Alchemist. I'm so excited about The Alchemist. Excuse me, somebody from my tribe is reading The Alchemist. They so excited about it. So I think we're going to have a good time with that. Again, I appreciate you all. I appreciate your patience while thank you, Tatiana. I don't know if you still on here, but if you are, I have been trying to actually dress up a little more consistent. I'm putting on my jackets. So look at my last couple of videos on Tuesdays. I've been trying to clean up. Yep, I definitely wasn't aware that it was a super moon myself. You know what I mean? So it came up in our conversation. We came up in our conversation in the men's group that it was even this week, which helped me. We had a great conversation on Monday. It helped me connect a lot of thoughts. So, for example, on my spiritual journey, I've talked to people and I've said my spirit animal was a snake. And they keep and a lot of people ask me what the snake mean. We have a bad thing about snakes. So they can mean abundance, they can mean wisdom, all the things that I am. So, and to take it a little further in our conversation, I think I kind of connect with the serpent in the sense of dragon. I've always low key liked dragons. Most of the jewelry I get has dragon. I even had the tiger's eye stone in a dragon. So now it's starting to make sense why I have this underlying connection to dragons and that dragon energy. And then I learned that there's a creation theory that all that exists was created by seven dragons. which is interesting. So that conversation Monday was off the hook. I got a lot of information. I told them I felt like I was going through a I was learning the history of myself, right? 'Cause that's what it felt like for sure, for sure. But yeah. So we about to wrap this up. I appreciate you. Hopefully I can see you Thursday so we can go ahead and wrap up. Before I let go, um next week I will be out of town. We are on the road. I think we might just be on the road for Tuesday. I don't remember. I know I will be home by Monday night. Good thing I'm staying in state, so it's just a little drive. But I don't know how we're gonna do Tuesday. We'll figure it out. But I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your time. Keep on healing. Take advantage of the energy. And till next week, family. I appreciate you. And